Hello everyone, my name is Alba. I'm a junior game designer and let me welcome you to my first devblog. In this series, I'll be showing you my journey as I create the game I'm currently working on. Dance Again. Dance Again is a rhythm game where you play with both hands. The right hand is used for hitting the notes coming your way, and the left hand is used for controlling your character so you can hit the notes on the floor. Basically, you're a dancer, and you're practicing your dance routine. You're moving around the room, doing different poses and such. The poses, you can't really see them right now because I haven't implemented that yet. However, in the future, depending on the keys that you press, the character will do one pose or another. But anyway, this is the first devlog of this game, so I thought it'd be nice to give you some background as to how I came up with the idea, why I took the design decisions I did, so on and so forth. Then, I will also give a brief summary of how I got to this point. I know it doesn't look like much at the moment, but it's just a small prototype I did in order to test if the mechanics were actually fun to play. So, without further ado, let's begin! A while back, I started brainstorming for game ideas and writing small sections where I described a mechanic or two in order to practice my designing skills and have a pool of ideas available for when I needed them. In there, I wrote this page that you can see right here. This was a very early concept for a platformer mixed with rhythm game aspects, where you can control the character and move it around the level with one hand, and with the other you hit the enemies coming your way, which would be the equivalent of the notes. I got this idea thinking about how I interact with platformers. I'm a huge fan of this genre, and every single time that I feel confident enough with my skills, I try to challenge myself into hitting the enemies in a specific pattern, or maybe following the rhythm of a song, so I thought that it would be a fun idea to create a game based on this specific type of gameplay. At this moment, the game concept is really close to what we have right now. However, at the time, I was also really into dancing and dance competitions, and I realized that what my character and the player were doing could be seen as dancing if I tweaked a few things. I'm also trying to incorporate mental health into my games, and apparently exercising and dancing helps people deal with their stress and a lot of other symptoms of different mental disorders. Thus, I decided I could make my game about a dance studio and have the characters who dance there talk about these things as well. Because of this decision, I changed the game so it was no longer a platformer and established the game world as the dance studio and its rooms. I wrote a game abstract for the game and concluded this phase. As a side note, I must say that it's very likely that I will make the other game in the future too, since, like I've already mentioned, I could make a Metroidvania. No, wait. No. That's too much, Alba, focus. Plus, how would I even make all the enemies sing to the music? While I was coming up with the idea, I already encountered some things that might become an issue later on, such as: how do I ensure that the notes are synced to the rhythm of the song if my character keeps moving around? Or, how do I ensure that the notes reach the character on key? I want the character to give feedback on the key that the player is pressing, and I thought it would be kinda cool if they danced accordingly to the keys being pressed. But, how do I implement different poses efficiently? Other things I took into account while I was in this phase were that: first, I wanted this game to be playable by anyone, so I decided I would implement a tutorial option for people who have never picked up a video game before. This would show the new player where the score was, how to pause the game, and things we assume everyone knows at this point, but that are extremely unintuitive for complete beginners. This tutorial, of course, would be skippable. Another thing is that the tutorials, both the beginners and the standard tutorial, should be very clear, and the progression should be created with a lot of care, since I noticed that using both hands in such a way was very difficult, and everyone who I talked about it with thought so as well. Thus, I need to find the perfect balance and test a lot. Learning curves are no joke. And finally, feedback needs to be precise and clear, easy to read and fast to identify. This is true for most games, but I feel like it's especially true for rhythm and very fast-paced games that need a lot of precision. Giving feedback to the players is very important. I played a few rhythm games to see where they put the feedback and how they showed it, but I quickly realized that none of those games have a character you have to move around while you're playing the song. So this will probably need to be tested and be worked on a lot in order to make it as intuitive and readable as possible. I wrote the light GDD. While writing the light GDD, I established the foundation of the gameplay and the design decisions I had taken up till that point. I created a few screen flow charts for the main menu, wrote down all the mechanics, the controls, made some HUD mockups, so on and so forth. And yes, I'm the only one participating in the creation of this game. So some of you may be thinking, why is she writing it? She has it all in her head already. But writing it down and making a document that you can check to make sure that you're not straying from your objective is really important. Just document your decisions, please. I started the prototype while I was in the middle of writing the light GDD, since I wanted to test a few things to make sure that they would work. So, first of all, I programmed the notes that move towards the player and the logic behind the icons that show when the player needs to press them. After that, I introduced music and added a few more notes in order to test what I was going to program next: the combos, multipliers, and the score. Doing that was easy enough, so I moved to the character movement, which was over fairly quickly as well, since it was a very simple movement. However, as you can see, it needs tweaking, and there are some issues with a few colliders, but for what I needed it at the moment, this was good enough. Having done all of that, the only thing left I needed to program were the notes that do not move and have a small timer to tell you when to press them. This was the trickiest part, in my opinion. First, I had to decide if merely touching the note would trigger them and be counted as pressed, or if the player needed to be on the center to score higher, which would require a timer. I went with the second option because I wanted the player to feel like they were actually dancing. I wanted them to want to move around the room and reach all the notes, moving with the music. If I had gone with the first option, it would feel like they hadn't completed a dance move properly, and it would be extremely unsatisfying. After this was done, I focused on creating some basic feedback. For the notes coming towards the player, I just wrote a few words saying how the note was pressed, and the score is simply a text for now. As for the notes on the ground, I thought about it for a bit and came up with the idea of a circle surrounding the note, making itself smaller and smaller until it fit perfectly with the note. This is when the note should be pressed. After testing it, I realized this was fairly familiar, and I remembered that this is partly how Osu showed the timing of their notes too. I searched for a bit and saw that other rhythm games do this as well, which gave me peace of mind, since this meant that most players would be used to this type of feedback and they would understand it perfectly. It's really important to not redesign the wheel. If your players are used to using specific controls or receiving information in a specific way, like the screen going red when you receive damage in a shooter, for example, changing that would cause a lot of struggle for them. I'm not saying there's no room for animation, I'm just saying try to make the players' lives easier, let them enjoy your game by paving the path of learning it as much as you can, please, I swear. And, well, I didn't mention this, but I did some placeholder art. Nothing to say about it, really. I honestly just wanted to test shapes and colors, and I'm not entirely convinced with it, so I'll be doing some more tests. And, well, of course, this also includes the feedback. The one I'm using now is just for testing purposes. So yeah. And I think that concludes my first devblog. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you want to follow the development of Dance Again. And you can also follow me on Twitter for smaller, more frequent updates. Thanks for watching, see you soon!